So welcome to this episode of ISV Talks. And on this episode, we have two guests from Alba Spectrum. Rod Bergl, who's the CEO and president, and Zach Livingston, who is their sales and marketing lead. And you might be familiar with Alba Spectrum. They've been specializing in Dynamics GP since 2004. And they're one of the few companies in the industry who specialize in developing custom solutions for clients with complex functional and technical requirements. But in addition to GP customizations, they've developed some unique products from posting automation, company merge utility, and advanced workflow. This helps your customers make GP work more effectively, and they make GP work for you. Next up is Rod and Zach. Welcome to this week's Dynamics Connections ISV Talks, and I'm very excited to welcome Alba Spectrum. We have Rod Bergl and Zach Livingston. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure.
So let's start with maybe a quick introduction. So Zach, you want to give us an introduction?
I'm Zach Livingston, and I am heading up sales and marketing for Alba Spectrum. I have actually been working with Alba since 2009. I worked full-time for the company for 4 years, mostly as a systems guy, handling a lot of the behind-the-scenes things, more IT things, technology things, but with a company as hands-on as Alba, that does lead you into a lot of other avenues. So I had a great chance to get acquainted with some of the products as well. And so I came away from that and ended up working for a much larger company in the digital media space. They were very client focused. Maintaining those relationships was obviously key for them. So I was able to learn about that both in a small business, kind of a family company, and then also in a much larger instance. So I like to think that I can take the best of both worlds to kind of help Alba's clients really find their way through what the current Dynamics GP ISV market looks like and what we can do to help them with their challenges. So it's a pleasure to be back with Alba and back with the company after all these years. I'm really excited to kind of take charge of what's going on with our sales and marketing. I have a lot of great ideas. I know Rod's excited as well. So this interview is actually coming at a fantastic time.
Want to maybe introduce the company, Alba Spectrum?
Yeah. So Alba Spectrum has been around since 2004, started by Rod Bergl, who is our company president and CEO. Nobody knows more about Dynamics GP than Rod, and actually he has a background in architecture and design. So he's always been an extremely detail-oriented, design-oriented, spatially, visually oriented thinker. And it's amazing to watch him bring that to the GP space and bring that also to our product design. And I really think that leads us to create products, create solutions. And he'll talk more about this in a moment, but also create customizations, very specific solutions for different companies that I think a lot of other people wouldn't think about. It's always been a pleasure watching Rod work. He really is a brilliant mind and the total mastermind behind all the stuff that we do at Alba.
Right.
So yeah, I think I'll kick it to Rod.
Actually, immediately prior to working with accounting software, I had actually worked I'd been in charge of systems and design for a furniture distribution company. And that was where I actually got my sort of handle on not only finance, but actually also operations. And that was what encouraged me to go into consulting. I then joined Alba Spectrum, actually a couple of years after it started. And Alba Spectrum had originally been a company that was very interesting because they really specialized in developing custom solutions. And what we found after a few years is that, these solutions, which ranged everywhere from what you would do for a retailer selling jewelry in the Cayman Islands to a global steel company that was importing bulk steel. But we found that there were aspects of these solutions that were actually sort of common to more than one project. And so we started sort of developing these solutions as products. So our business is actually split between products, and also we do a lot of customization ranging from fairly small jobs up to we have 2 or 3 clients who are sort of basically hitting $1 million on projects.
Wow. Some really complex requirements there, I guess.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. We've also developed technology to sort of enable us to actually develop applications which can be where the actual business logic is actually not only flexible but visible, which is what we provide in our workflow product.
Actually, I was going to ask Zach, can you maybe describe what are some of your companion products for Dynamics GP? Maybe give us just a couple.
I think the best place to start would be with GP Posting Server, which is a tool designed to improve Dynamics GP integrations, whatever application you might be using, eConnect, Integration Manager, any other method to save transactions. And what Posting Server does is it will automatically post transactions into the database of Dynamics GP. All types of GP transactions can be posted without human intervention using a rules-based setup. You just need to have one instance of Dynamics GP to run the post-polling function. It's 100% developed in Dexterity. So it's 100% compatible with Dynamics GP. When we introduced this product in 2007, there really wasn't anything like it on the market. And there have since been some products that do something similar to Posting Server, but we really believe it's the best in breed solution. It's more flexible and more powerful than the other options. It's great and works really, really well. And it solves a problem that I think a lot of clients are facing.
I agree. When I talk to partners, I hear that a lot. That's one product that they're very familiar with, and it is very, very flexible. So I totally agree with that. And I do think it probably is some of your most popular ISV products you deliver to the GP marketplace. So
absolutely. I think that's kind of our go-to thing. Something that maybe not as many people know about is that we have a sister product to that called Auto Transfer GP, which can help you automatically transfer all types of SOP transactions also without human intervention. So that works well with Posting Server. They kind of dovetail together and give you kind of a larger spectrum, if you will, no pun intended, of different abilities without having to expend a lot of man hours on the client side to manually do all these things. We really try to automate as much of that as we possibly can. Also developed 100% in Dexterity. We have fantastic development resources. I think our 2 biggest things would be our company merge utility and Alba workflow. Company merge utility is exactly what it sounds like. It's a tool that helps you combine multiple companies in a Dynamics GP database into one master company. So if, a lot of clients come in, maybe there's been some acquisitions or some changes in their system, they've moved some things around and they end up having all these legacy companies in their system. That can be a lot of work to manage all of that. And so company merge utility was designed to help those clients kind of clean things up and streamline their processes to save them time and money.
Yeah, you're right, Zach. Beyond saving time, company merge utility does actually cut the time required for a merge project probably by 2/3.
Right.
And it cuts the cost by 1/2. So
right, exactly.
Very popular.
The other option would be to manually merge the companies, which can take, depending on the size of the companies and how many you have to merge, that can be an incredibly involved project. So CMU can really seriously save a lot of time and money in that process.
Right. Yes.
And then I think the last one I'd want to mention would be our workflow solution, which, as Rod mentioned earlier, actually has a graphical component to it. You can design a lot of processes for it where you have stakeholders and admins who can design these workflows that don't require developers to build. We do have a graphical workflow designer that allows non-technical users to create a workflow that has permissions, notifications structured in. It's extremely flexible. It can do a wide variety of tasks in GP, but you don't necessarily need to have a huge customization project behind it.
I've heard about that. The product is also outside of GP, right? If you have external applications that you're integrating with or processing a third-party transaction. So
Absolutely.
Better than GP workflow because of those other features, not only that drag and drop interface you just spoke of, I think those other things make it much more flexible.
Yeah, I mean, we can connect it to just about anything, including different third-party applications. And we're, anything that we haven't connected it to yet, we'd love to talk with partners and clients about, what their needs are and how they need workflow to work for them. So lots of options there.
Current utility, that also integrates with the binary stream multi-entity management too, right? When you're going from multiple company databases down to a single one.
Exactly.
That multi-entity functionality.
Exactly. Yeah, it dovetails perfectly with that. So
yeah, and beyond binary stream, we're actually also building up a library of the tables from other third-party products that can be merged at the same time.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent.
These products are continually under development as well. I mean, they've been under development for years, some of them, and they're constantly being improved and streamlined to add new functionality, like Rod just mentioned.
Okay. Well, thank you for the overview, both of you. Kind of moving on from that, I'm always curious to know, kind of like, what are you hearing from customers in the channel? What changes have you seen with the pandemic and people coming back from being locked down? And what challenges are companies facing now, as they're trying to get back to normal?
Well, I think that's a very good question, Carol. And in one sense, it's something that we've seen in the last 18 months. And actually, in another sense, it's something that we've seen for many years. In the last 18 months, everybody's been working from home. That sort of basically created a new way of working remotely because of the fact that there are so few people who actually do what we do in terms of serious customizations of great planes. But we've always been working with people throughout from one coast to the other. In fact, we discovered that we were able to sort of handle those projects without actually necessarily being on site. So in one sense, what we've done is we've used the discipline of creating design documents to sort of augment communication from the beginning of the company. So in one sense, it hasn't actually made such a big difference to us.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are just now tackling, remote work in the last couple of years and figuring out how to handle these kind of projects. And the good news of working with Alba, especially for your customization needs, is that we've been working remotely for years. And I think we're ideally suited to help people tackle some of those things, especially if they're kind of just coming into a more remote, work setup. We can be a great partner for them on that.
And I think a lot of customers themselves are working from home or remotely, and so they don't want you to come to their office and be on site, right? And before the pandemic, it seemed like when I was working on a partner, customers didn't want you on site. Like, they'd have to get you, security, they'd have to set up a desk, they'd have to actually, be there. And, they're like, can't you just dial in? So I think that was already kind of the mode people were in already. So just kind of moving on to, kind of the sort of in the marketplace, the GP, kind of continues to be a strong product. It has a lot of features and functions. People love it. They love their features. They're used to the very vibrant ISV ecosystem that's out there. Now that Microsoft has extended the GP roadmap, that pushed that out a few more years to 2028 and then beyond that support. How do you think that's impacted customers and partners as far as their, approaching their investment in GP? Are they looking to optimize, enhance, maximize GP? What are you seeing with that extension?
Well, we've spoken not only to several customers, but also to actually some of the largest resellers. Overall, I've seen that pretty much everyone is sort of very positive about GP and its value. Not only because of its capabilities, which have sort of steadily grown and continue to grow, but also because it's what they're used to. We want to help people who want to stay on GP to actually realize it and maybe extend their capabilities rather than just,
Mhm.
having a few issues that they want to deal with and having to change their entire accounting system. Things that we're doing, for example, Zach had mentioned the fact that we have these order posting and order transfer products, is we're looking at actually extending that capability so that not only are we posting, but we're also handling the validation, which can be quite cumbersome. If you have any sort of size batches and you want to run the edit list, A, you're chopping down a half a tree in the process, and B, you're then looking for asterisks in a 20 or 30 page report. So we're looking at actually integrating that process into our posting suite so that we can actually identify issues in real time rather than waiting until 1 minute past midnight to fix stuff up before it can be posted. Another thing that we're looking at doing for customers, clients who have a large number of customers, is actually producing a better way of actually merging duplicate customers together. We have one client who actually has 1 million retail customers and massive amounts of duplication. We developed a solution for them which will not only identify the duplicates, but is very efficient at actually merging the data. So those are two things that we plan to bring out in the next year.
You talked about trying to make GP work better, right? But kind of seems like that's the philosophy, whether it's ISV products or GP customizations. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, actually, if I look at the people who've been involved in and contribute to the company, they actually divide into two parts. One is an excellent technical team, many of whom actually started out working for Microsoft or Great Plains, as it was in those days, either in product development, early modules of GP, or for that matter, in the technical support team in GP. But on the other hand, we also had people who were more involved in operations, particularly myself. And so, in essence, what makes Alba Spectrum, shall we say, a little bit different, is that we're not entirely coming out of an accounting CPA type background. And we're, perhaps because of that, we're leaving the accounting bit that is, in general, the broader accounting issues to CPA. We're focusing on the sorts of problems that relate to operations and efficiency rather than just, do the numbers add up.
Right, more from the process side or operationally.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, really improving efficiencies wherever we can.
Is there one trend that you're seeing, I guess, in this space that are driving partners and customers to come speak with you? Like, are there specific solutions they're looking for? Are they, is there a favorite product they're interested in? What do you think is driving people to talk to you?
I think there are two factors that work in parallel. One is because people are interested in solutions that we've developed, many of which we've discussed. And then the other one is because of our background and our work in customization, we've always, in essence, been involved in sort of diving into the complexity of the system and figuring out what's going on. A fair amount of our work is actually, involved in things like, for example, correcting data. And it's something that we can actually do sort of relatively rapidly. If you go to Great Plains, you've got to have a project and you've got to have an estimate and you've got to, you'd be lucky if you get it done in 2 or 3 weeks. Whereas for us, we can generally compress that into 2 or 3 days.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. Yeah. When people are looking for ways to streamline things, especially when they're looking to keep costs down, I think that's really key, right? And so it sounds like, you kind of have both that operational understanding, but also the technical expertise internally. Is that a good way of saying that?
I think that's very well put, Carol.
And whatever state a project might be in, we're always happy to take a look. I mean, sometimes customers come to us with very clear-cut ideas of exactly what they need. And sometimes they come to us where they really need to explore what the options are and what can be done. And I think we're in an ideal position to help them, understand their own requirements and understand, the best way to proceed and how we can help them in the most efficient way possible.
I agree, Zach. And the one thing I would add to that is if I look back historically over the work we've done during the last 10 years, what's not always immediately obvious is that more than half of the projects we do, clients have come to us actually with failed projects,
Right.
where we stepped in and helped them to better visualize what the issues were and how those issues could actually be addressed.
Maybe even helping rescue a failed project or a project that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was there anything else, Rod or Zach, that you'd like to share about Alba Spectrum?
Just if you have any questions, reach out. I mean, we're always happy to get a dialogue going, and we're curious about what you're working on. If you have any questions about any of the products or an idea for a customization project, don't be afraid to reach out to us, and we'll make that process as easy and rewarding for you as possible.
All right. So yeah, thanks, Zach, for the reminder that we can always have you reach out to Rod or Zach Livingston. Rod Bergl and Zach Livingston, your information's here, the contact, their website. So please reach out to them if you're, looking for the extra pair of hands on those kind of really complex technical requirements, whether you're a partner and you need someone to help you, you're a customer and maybe you just need some guidance and some assistance, and you've had some challenges with finding a resource that has this talent. So thank you so much, Rod and Zach, for joining our
Absolutely. Thank you, Carol.
ISV Talks. It was really a pleasure to
thank
get to
you.
know you both and a little bit about your products. So thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol. Cut.